Welcome back, everybody. It's been a long fucking time, let me tell you. Yeah, I know we have been MIA for a while. Been sick, holidays, all that fun stuff, and unfortunately, I've got to get better real fast. It's convention season, so starting in 2 weeks, I will be in Florida for about a week, Las Vegas for about a week, and Seattle for about a week at various conventions because, as an insurance agent, this is the season. So, unfortunately, if there are any updates, like massive updates, I won't be able to do anything about them, and I'm probably going to be DOA, with the exception of the collateral update, because I think I'm actually in town for when that happens for Yerbas. I don't know when the next Bitorium one is going to happen, but today it is all about Yerbas coin. So if a lot of you don't know, this is the other coin that I've been really active in. Kind of a loose pain in their ass, fun guy to have around. You can catch me on their Discord server, mostly talking shit, but you know, it is what it is. So one of the things that I've been meaning to do for a while is actually create a video that kind of showcases how to actually set up a full Smartnode on Oracle's VPS system, because they're a little bit unique and they do things a little bit different. Primarily, if you've been having issues with trying to use UFW or Firewalld, this is the video for you. Go ahead and watch and follow along. So Yerbas coin is another ghostwriter algorithm that has a Smartnode component to it. I've been mining with them for a while, as well as Bitorium, and they recently also launched their wrapped Yerbas on the BCS or BSC chain, so it's Binance. But yeah, you can now wrap your Yerbas there and trade it over there. Get involved with some NFT stuff over there, which is definitely something to look forward to. But today we're really going to focus on how to do a Smartnode. My head's still a little cloudy, so work with me. So, oh, and shout out to Retax and Accounting for letting us use their account for this, since they had an open node that we are using to get their own cloud systems up and off the ground, migrated away from an in-office server to a more secure VPS locked storage kind of thing. Fun stuff over there. So after you log into your account, what you're going to want to do is, realistically, if you've set up an instance, you're going to go to networking first. But if you haven't, obviously you're going to create your first instance. Now, we're not going to be able to, because right now they are out of capacity on this particular server, as a lot of American servers are right now. And they're apparently running incredibly flippin' slow. So you would want to create your own instance. Yeah, really slow. This should have all self-propagated. So give it a minute, because the next thing that we're going to look at is the image and shape. Right. If you have the ability to get an Ampere, this is really what we're going to be talking about today. So what we're going to be working on is an Ampere module, even though we can't actually create one. We already have one available to us, right? So you would say, yes, I want the Ampere shape. Now, for those of you who don't, where's the previous generation, you can use one of these. There are some caveats. Oh, yeah, that's fine, because you can use it. We have multiple ADs on this one. So this is the VM standard E2 Micro. This is the always free. This is the older. I believe it's either Epic or Intel. Yeah, so right here it's telling you it'll be on the Epic processor 7551 Naples at 2.0 gigahertz, which is kind of nice because previously they didn't tell you that until you actually created it. So, but if you do have the ability, try to go with Ampere, 1 core. You don't need more than that. And the 6, you can do more or less, but realistically 6 is good. And if you can do all 4 of your free Ampere cores, because that's what you get currently with the free, you can get 6 gigs per. So more is better. Let's just keep it at 6. Let's select this shape. Now for the operating system, we're going to go Ubuntu. A lot of reasons. First of all, Oracle Linux sucks. Second of all, a lot of this stuff is actually written for Ubuntu, and by stuff I mean the Smartnode compiled things. If you are able to make your own, all well and good, bully for you. Now, you can do 22 and 22 minimal and 22 minimal specifically for ARts, but ignore that one. I always preface off 20. It's a good middle ground, still being supported, and a lot of stuff was actually previous to a couple months ago still being written for Ubuntu 18. 20 has been a good middle ground, and more 22 stuff is being supported. So in the next 6 months or so, you can simply upgrade to 22.04 from 20.04 with minimal problems. But for the sake of this video, let's do 20.04. Select the image. Alright, now your first time, it's actually going to create a lot of this stuff for you. Now, I don't know why it's not already propagating. Oh, there we go. So, see, it's trying to load the network that already exists. If you don't have one yet, it will propagate one for you for the first time, which is why we went this way instead of going the other way. One thing you do want is you definitely want to assign a public IP v4 address, so that way your node will be access to the outside. Also, you would save the private key because Oracle does not allow you to log into your VPS using a standard authentication username password. You have to log in with a key. So if you don't download this right now, you are SOL and your instance won't work and you'll have to scrap it and try it all over again. So do download this private key. If you are familiar with how to make private keys and public keys, you can upload, you can paste them directly in here. You can say no SHK, but then you won't be able to connect to your instance using SSH. So you're definitely going to need one. If you already know what your key is, great. If you have the key file, you can upload it, or you can generate the pair on the server. We're going to go this route because we're also going to, at the end of this, kind of disable the Ubuntu user profile, which is what you're going to use to log in the first time. Also, use in-transit encryption, and then you go ahead and create. Now, oh, right, because it recognizes that I didn't actually do that, so I'm going to go ahead and do it for the sake of this video, but I actually don't care about that file because I already know I can't create one here. And you will see, it'll come up and it'll say out of space, because my server is currently not accepting Ampere cores. Yeah, there we go, out of capacity for the shape. If you see this message, this means that you're out of space. Now, if you have multiple ADs, which these are, you can select a different domain. But I already know for a fact that all 3 of my domains are full, meaning that they have no Ampere cores. And they're also even saying here you can also swap it out for the VM standard E2 1 micro, which is a less capable server, but it would work. But today, like I said, we're focusing on Ampere. Alright, so let's cancel out of this completely, because like I said, this is the actual one that we're going to be working with today. So from here, what you're actually going to want to look at before we do anything is the virtual cloud network setup. Now, one of the first things that we're going to have to do is we have to set ingress rules, which are rules for your ports to go through Oracle's firewall to get to the VPS. Now, this is confusing for a lot of people as to why, and it even confuses me sometimes, but basically Oracle uses their own firewalls and they have this kind of lockdown protocol. Everything's super locked down, so they have their own kind of unique way of doing it. So one of the first things that we got to do is basically port forwarding on your router. This is very, very similar to that. Only in this context, the router is really inexpensive. So we're going to click through until we start getting, basically click through all those blue links until you get to this. There should be one more. There's a lot of shit you got to click through. All right. Now, once you have the ingress rules, you don't care about the egress. You only care about the ingress. Now, right here, this rule does not come standard. And actually, neither of these 4. I've added all 4 of these rules. And I can't disable this rule because I have stuff that's using it and clearly would be problematic. But if this is your first time, you're not going to see any of these 4. Then if you know what these are for, great. If you don't, Don't worry about it. We're only going to worry about the Yerbas one today. So you would add an ingress rule, CIDR, right? And you want to make this available for all port ranges, which is 0.0.0.0/0p. This means the IP range, and you can see it right here, is from everything from 0.0.0.0 all the way to 255, 255, 255, 255, which is, those are also reserved domains, but basically any IP address, we're good. The protocol we're looking for is TCP. Now, you can also further specify, you could also say all protocols, but specifically leave it on TCP because that's what we want. Ignore the source port, and we're only going to deal with the destination, so it'd be 15420. That's the port for the Yerbas. Now, you could also separate it out, so if you were doing like a Yerbas and a Bitorium, right, you would do 15168. Oh yeah, that's right, they don't want a space. Sorry, no space. So we're doing, 1420, 15168, and then you can write a description. This is optional, but it's a really good idea to let you know what these are for. Now, I can't go ahead and add these rules because these rules already exist. And I've separated them out so that way I can interrogate them individually. You don't have to, but for the sake of this video, the Yerbas one is what you're going to want. And what that would look like for you is fill it out like this. I'm going to leave this up on the screen for a hot second. Ignore the stateless. This is exactly what you're going to want, okay? Now, this isn't going to immediately open up the port. It will tell Oracle that you want to open up the port. So, I have already created the keys, and I've done some things in advance, including this, which is a little applet utility that will allow me to log into the server with just a little kind of nice little utility. We're gonna make this a little bit bigger, and we're probably gonna go ahead and do some other, we're probably gonna open that up in a minute as well. So this is on the Ubuntu one, and we can go ahead and do these. So the first thing that you're obviously going to want to do is you are going to want to sudo apt. I had to read which user I'm on. Sudo apt update. If I can spell. Sudo apt dist install. Distro is what it stands for, -y. All the -y does here is it'll just install without prompts, so I'm not going to have to hit Y later. It'll find all of the updates. Did I not? Oh, not install. God, I'm an idiot. Upgrade. I tell you, man, this cough syrup they got me on, it is messing with me. This should work. It's dist upgrade for distro upgrade. Upgrade your distro. Now, this can take a little longer. I know I've gotten shit for it from a lot of project runners, primarily Marius. I know you give me shit about it. He's like, oh, you got 2 hours to waste. That can take a very long time, but these are fairly updated, so it's really just patching the most latest things. Okay. So, from over here, I use kind of a hybrid. There's a couple of things I like using from Yerbas and a couple of things I like using from the Bitorium core. Is that what I use to find them? Yeah. So there's a couple of different notes, and I like to mix and match them to get kind of a better picture. So where this is where it says how to activate a Smartnode on Linux VPS. We're only going to be doing a couple of things from here, so you don't need to really keep track of exactly what we're doing. But I will show you where the important stuff really comes in that I borrow from them is these last couple of lines in creating your swap file, which if you're using Oracle, you're going to have to. Now, I think I've already done that for this one, so we're going to check free H. Yeah, I've already created a 4 gig swap file. Okay. Now, I know for a fact that Oracle doesn't come with swap files enabled. You do have to create them. They're not super necessary for these 6 gig RAM 1 core machines, because 6 gigs of RAM for a headless server, particularly for what we're doing, is kind of a lot. I do them out of habit because when you run multiple things like I do, off of these servers, it can help out a lot and prevent crashes. Okay, so there are definitely some things that we want to do. So there are a couple of things. Now, normally these come pre-installed, and except fail to ban. I know unzip works. Now, we can also ignore UFW. If UFW works for you, great. I get about a 1 in 3 instance of where UFW works on Oracle, so I am going to ignore it. But the two things we definitely want to do is we want to do sudo apt install, which now we can do that. The application unzipped and failed to ban. Now, I believe I already have, yeah, they're already installed, but we're running through this for you. So the next thing is we are going to do sudo bash. Now this will elevate us up to root. Now anytime that I'm creating swap stuff, I do it as root. You don't need to, but I have found that Oracle, primarily with this command right here, the actual creation of the swap file itself, has problems. So I always elevate this to root and still add in the sudo and do it. Now you don't want. I don't want to do this right now because that will actually ruin some things that I have running. I already have the sudo swap file on, and I think I also have. Wait, this is the ownCloud one. I don't think. You know what? Let's go ahead and look at. Do I have Yerbas D? I don't think I do. I don't think I. No, but I do have the Bitorium one running. No, I do have both Yerbas and Bitorium. Okay, so yeah, we need to do a couple of things because I have been experimenting and I need to see something. So when in the description, we're going to write a service later that I may have already wrote, and I really hope that I didn't. So what we're going to do is we are going to tail the Bitorium core Debug.log. Interesting. Oh, because it's not running from there. That's why. So these are actually being run out of another account, and I forgot about that. So let's look at that account. Terminate. So let's look at these two now that we're in the right account. And we're going to tail, trailing tail, huh. Interesting. So how is Bitorium D running with no Bitorium core file? And where is it running at? It's running on, oh, user Yerb. Okay. We'll get to the bottom of this eventually. So we got to do this twice. Elevate to root. And Visudo. I want to know. Yeah, okay, good. Neither of them are going to require a password because I don't want to enter them in. So change user to Yerb. CD. Neat little trick so you don't have to enter passwords, because once you elevate to root, then you don't have to enter the user password to switch to them, which is a neat little trick. So now we can tail successfully. Okay, good. So I haven't set them up as a service yet, so we can just stop them using the standard Bitorium CLI command. Now, the reason I don't have to type exactly where it is I've moved this into the user file, which we are also going to do. So at the same time, we should also do and let's make sure I've done this as well. So tail. How about if I can spell? Okay, it's going along, and we should go Yerbas-CLI stop. Same thing, and it should just quit. It should not restart. Okay, that is a surefire way to say that the core is done, and we have not enabled the service. So now we're going to exit to bring us back to root, and we are going to swap on dash... Is it swap off dash A? Yes, it is. Okay, so that disables the swap file. So we're going to go ahead and create the swap file as if it didn't exist. Now, this too, if you wanted to make more swap, you could simply say 5,000 instead of here. I like leaving it at 4,000. Primarily for those kind of VPSs out there. If you're using the barebone one, you're only going to get 1 core and 1 gig of RAM, and the 1 gig of RAM often just isn't enough, particularly when it's resyncing big amounts of data. So we are just going to run this. It's going to take a second. I'm going to go read some comments real quick because people would be talking shit to me. That's how they do. Oh, they're not talking shit. They are giving me things. The big Yerb man, Yerb dog, is on, and he finally sent me the logo files for making images for the media. So next time I do this, I'll have that. Now, one thing I do want to make clear here. When you do this / swap file, you're actually going to make it invisible, which is kind of a nice thing. And what I mean by invisible is you won't be able to see it as a file that gets generated. It'll be kind of hidden, and it'll be hidden in root, so it'll be all well and good. I don't like leaving it exposed. I know that I don't think you can actually delete it very easily. It takes a very menacing ability to actually disable it, but still, keeping it hidden is a great way to keep it out of mind, out of sight, and prevents you from fucking it up in the future. Now, also, I do want to explain that I was running those daemons because I wanted the wallets fully synced up before I went ahead and did all this to make this video a little bit easier. Alright, now these are multiple things that we're doing. We're going to make this file a swap file. That's what this command is. Change the mode in which it operates to 600, which means it will be editable to some degree, / swap file, and then turn the swap file on. Okay. That's it. That's those commands. And then we are going to su Yerb again. Now I know it says exit, but that's assuming you elevated it too. We just need to get back to the user that we are going to be using for this. Okay. Now here you can ignore all of this. We are going to be using a different approach. Now in here, I was given a PDF that explains on Oracle how to... Oh, right. So I do actually want to go back and do something else. Exit. So after you run those 3 commands, like I said, you do definitely want to go back to the Bitorium one, and you do want to execute these 3 lines. Now I've already executed them, so rewriting them is not really going to do me a whole lot of good, but it will you. This will ensure that your swap file stays persistent across reboots. There have been issues with Oracle and this as well, so if your swap file isn't loading every time that you reboot, these will help you. So it's echoing this, that's what this is, and then it's writing this into the etc fstab, yeah, that's how you say that file. Then we're going to execute this, right? It'll come back with the swappiness being 10, and then we're going to write it into that. Boom. Done. Okay. Now, once again, they even make mention of UFW. There is a known issue with the UFW on these, so this is what we're looking to get around. So let's go back to Yerb, and let us bring up this. So for opening ports, we're actually going to be using IPTables. Now this is actually the way that Oracle recommends that you do. So we're going to do sudo nano, and I have sudo privileges so I don't have to enter a password. Now I already have this entered here, but what you will do is you will have to add this line right here. Now I will at some point create a text file that basically says this, but basically it's capital-A, capital input, lowercase p, TCP, m state, state, capital new, m, TCP, d port, the port that you want open, which in our case is not 15168, it's 15420, j, capital accept. And you also want to do it in the Oracle stuff well before all of this instance, which is Oracle specific cloud server stuff. Where I would recommend it, because this line is always going to be there, this one right here. Basically, what you can do is you can just copy this line entirely. Make sure that you are, yeah, I didn't think I was, I thought it was on the wrong line. Enter, and you can basically just paste it and then modify it with the port that you want. Now, the ports that I want are already there. I want this one, which is for Bitorium, and this one, which is for Yerbas, which is what we're dealing with today. You write it out, which is Control-O, Enter, Control-X to exit, but they haven't been taken. So in the terms, if you're familiar with UFW, you would have to reload the rules. This is what this line does. You're going to say sudo IPTables-restore with the closed caret. I forget which caret this is, but basically mirror this right here, the etc IPTables rules.v4, which is the file that we were loading at. Boom. Okay. At this point in time, you've now told the VPS specifically you want those ports open. You've now told Oracle's Firewall you want these ports open. But if you do a port checker right here, it'll still say it's closed. Why? Because you're not actually running anything on that port. So this is probably one of the most important things to recognize about Oracle, is that this methodology of using the IP tables will always work. When UFW fails and Firewall D fails, this will work. And in their documentation, they tell you multiple times to use IP tables, although absolutely nobody reads Oracle's documentation except maybe me. Okay, we're done with Bitorium. Let's go back to Yerbas. So the next thing that we're actually going to want to do is, at this point in time, it's pretty much just copy and paste from the... Oh, right. It's not copy and paste. No. Because one thing that he forgot is you want to sudo nano etc fail. etc is a protected folder, so anything in etc and subdirectories, it's all protected. So now that we do sudo and we copy this, and there's a return key, that's why it automatically went in there, you want to copy and paste this. That's all that was in there. So X, yes, save buffered X. Jesus. Okay, now you want to reboot. We are not going to. There is a note right here. I mean, we are going to reboot, but we're not going to reboot from here just yet. I do want to make note of something. So the first time that you would log in, you would log into Ubuntu. Now, I never recommend anybody running any of this stuff out of Ubuntu, which is why I was a little confused at the beginning, because I thought I had set it up in Ubuntu, and clearly I did not, because the ultimate plan is to eventually get rid of this account. The reason is I find this to be, for me, a security flaw. The SSH keys are developed on the server side, or the RSA keys, and I know that it's super secure, but Ubuntu is a very common username. It's almost like using, what do they call it, Pi on the Raspberry Pis or any of that kind of stuff. You really don't want to use it, so we would definitely want to sudo these do this step. So add user, username, which for us was the Yerb, right? So that's, I don't think we could do it. What we could do is we could simply add user to go through the steps. Add user, let's say blank, right? Oh, right. You need sudo privileges. Sudo add user blank. Let's say password is password. Okay, give them a name. Negative, I am a meat popsicle. Room number, why not? Work phone, 555-555-5555. Other, go roll it up. Is this information correct? Sure, why not? Alright, so once we have that user created, then we want to give them sudo privileges. Add user blank to the sudo group. So it would be sudo. Yeah, once again, I almost did it again. Damn it, Yerbman, you'd be messing with me. Sudo add user blank to the sudo group. Okay. It'll tell you there's now been added to the group. Now, one of the things that you can do is if you don't want to enter passwords while you're doing all of this setup, while you're in that user, you can go sudo v sudo, right? And you can modify this file. You scroll all the way to the end under the include directory etc sudo users.d, which has been highlighted out. You would go here and you would say blank, if I can spell, all equals, open parenthesis, all, close parenthesis, no password, colon, all. Write that out. Control O for write out, Control X for close, and now when we, let's sudo bash, because I don't want to enter a password, and let's say switch user blank, right? Okay, so now we can sudo apt update. We've never logged into this user before, so normally this would require a password, but as you can see here, it'll execute the command without it. Okay, so we're going to exit, and we are going to user, so we're in root, so now we don't have to user enter sudo user del r dash blank. That's fine. So then we vsudo, because we're in root, we don't need that anymore. We're going to delete this line because I don't like keeping lines in here for stuff that doesn't exist anymore. Okay, let's write that out. X, user's gone. Alright, so let us switch user to the user Yerb, which in our case will be running the Yerbas file. Okay, now this is the part where you really can't follow from here because this will give you the wrong thing. Now, for this part, it's accurate, but the actual installer, the wallet and whatnot that you need is actually somewhere else. So we want the GitHub, right, which should take you to, oh, I forget which one I want. Is it this one? I don't think it is. No, that's the browser extension. Interesting. This is why I hate this kind of stuff. I know what I could have done. We can use part of it. Just go to the releases part and then copy this. And I copied the front space, so we're going to go here and we're going to say delete that front space and releases. Alright, so currently we're at 2.1.1.4 Ballistic Brownie, and specifically the tar file that we're going to want is one that will say ARM64. This will work on Oracle, so we're going to right mouse button click it and click copy link address. So we're going to switch back over here and we're going to look at where I've downloaded. Okay, so we're going to rm remove Yerbas V 2.1.1.4. Oh, right. It's a directory, so we need to recursively delete everything in the directory. Boom. Now when we mention it, it's gone. So now we're going to wget that link that we got, which will download for us the correct the correct file that was over here. We are going to want the tar, or so we want to copy this. So we're going to unzip it, but it uses tar, so not unzip, which is fine. tar-xf, and then we're going to do that. ls, and we're going to rename the Yerbas build. This is just something for me. I want to know which version of Yerbas that we're dealing with, so we're going to rename it Yerbas build 2. Voila. Okay. Now we can get rid of this tar file because I don't like unnecessary crap. Gotta keep that space minimum. ls. Okay. So let's cd into Yerbas V 2.1.1.4 ls. So obviously these are the things that we are going to need. You don't really need this, so I'm going to remove it. You can keep it if you really do want to check your checksums, but I know this is good, so we're good. I only want these four: the CLI, the QT, the TX, and the Yerbas D. For the sake of this video, we're only dealing with these two. Yerbas D CLI, which is your CLI commands, and the Yerbas D, which is the daemon, which we're going to need to launch the wallet. So we're actually going to copy these to a protected file, so we need sudo cp Yerbas D, which says copy from here, it's relative to this file, and we're going to put it in the usr/bin/Yerbas D. It'll write over the file that's already there. So if they come out with version 2.1.1.6, you can still do this. Even if your Yerbas D is already there, it'll automatically write it over to the newest version. But you do want to make sure that your daemon is stopped here, which is why we went through all that trouble over here to make sure that the daemon wasn't running anymore, because that can cause massive conflicts where you would have to reboot and pray, right? So the second thing that we're going to want is we're going to want the CLI in this file over there, because the CLI will allow us to use those two files without having to referencing their absolute paths. So we go Yerbas-CLI / we're going to put it in the USR bin / Yerbas-CLI. Okay, and that's that. Now, the advantage here is that we're going to back out of this file. So we're going to go back to our main folder. Now, clearly I'm not launching it because the only things that are in this folder right now are these two folders, Bitorium version 3.0.2.1 and Yerbas version 2.1.1.4. So typically you would have to do this to execute a file, but now that they're in that user bin folder, we don't. So before we do this, so we're going to do Yerbas D. And as we see over here, it automatically goes, right? But that's not really what we want right now. Yerbas-CLI stop. Okay. because there are some things that we definitely want to do. Now, once again, this has already been created for me, so I am not actually going to type this in. This make directory is for our user, the user you're currently logged in here. That's what that is. So if any time you ever see me do that, that would be the equivalent of saying /home/ the user you're currently logged into /.yerbascore makes it a hidden folder. That's what you do for Linux for hidden folders. And touch, this is a separate command. We're going to make this conf file, and it's not going to have anything in it. Now the next step is to put a daemon1 in there for the Yerbas conf, and then go there, and then we're going to download a folder. Now, so we're going to go there, and I'm going to explain what they're talking about. So we're in that hidden folder, which previously you couldn't see, right? You could only see these two, but there's another folder in there, and there's probably more. I just don't really care. The one that I actually care about is Yerbascore, because that's what we're dealing with, and we're going to ls. Now, I've already done stuff in here, right? So one of the things I'm actually going to do, you don't have to do this because you wouldn't have anything in there. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to remove that file. You do want to once you're in this folder, you do want to issue this. There is only one power.dat. There's not one special for Linux, Windows. They're all the same. This allows you to sync faster. So you would just hit this wget, this whole thing, and it would create or download this file. So you'd only have a little bit of syncing to do. This is already a fully synced up wallet, and I did this for the sake of convenience here. The thing that I really wanted to talk to you about, though, is the Yerbas.conf. Now, mine's going to look a little bit different. So we're going to open up Nano because I don't use Vim, because Vim can eat it. Right? Now, there are some things that are already here, because this is a very unique instance. There's an RCP port, which we can ignore for now, but as you see here, this is where the daemon1 is. This was set up to do a couple of things in the background, so at this point in time, your file should only have this, shouldn't have the rest of the stuff. We're going to get this information in a little bit from something else. But there is one thing I do want to check first. We're going to say nano. All right. So good. I did already set it up to say that there is a different RCP port. If you're running multiple smart nodes like I would be on this particular thing, so it would be Bitorium and Yerbas, then you do want to change the RPC ports. But since I've already done that for Bitorium, we're going to say that leave it as it is for this. So we're going to actually use port 8484 like we're going to have later on over here. All right. So one thing that you do want to do is, if you haven't done it already, do let your Yerbasd sync fully. Now, I'm not going to have to wait that long because it's been synced already. Now, so basically the only blocks that we might be out of 1 or 2 blocks because we have shut it down for the 10 or so minutes. The one thing that we do now need to do is we need Sorry, somebody was typing something to me. I had to respond. Alright, so it's going to want a password, and I don't want to give it to you. So this is a remote computer that I use for my collaterals, my wallets, all this kind of stuff. Now, what you're going to want to do is, if you haven't done it already, for each collateral address, you're going to want to set up a collateral received. Now, I already have, and it's collateral 3, right? Because this will be my 3rd smart node. And the irony is I'm going to have to redo this because I'm going to show you with all of the keys and everything, because this is not a live smart node. It'll be live for the sake of this demonstration, but at the end of this, I'm going to destroy it and create a brand new smart node that you guys won't know about, so suck it, Samwise Gamgee. Smart node. Oh, no. Oh. Yeah, because I think I have 2 enabled. Yep, and we're doing the third one. Goody gumdrops. Alright, so under transactions, we can actually say that, payment to myself, that's, and if it says 22,000 Yerb, okay. Because now what we need to do is we need to build the ProTX command. I was under the impression that you had to have them all. So we're going to create a new. I am using TextEdit on Mac to do this. Right? We're putting it as a plain text because what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to copy this, go back, we're going to paste. What we're actually going to do is we're going to put these in quotes, right? So this, going back over here, is the transaction ID. We're going to copy it. We're going to put it over here. All right, now the collateral output, what we need for that is we actually need your debug console, right? And we're going to say Smartnode outputs. All 3 of them are 1. So, and I know that the other 2 are 1, so if there was one that had said 0, we would have known that that would have been for us. So all of them have 1, so that is what we're going to be entering. So let's clear that out. Oh, right, I can't do that because now I'm on the virtual machine. Or not virtual machine, the screen share. So we're 1. Now we need our port number, which I don't remember what that is, to be honest, off the top of my head. So we go over to our instances. Because once again, I don't care if you guys know this information. At the end of this video, this is going to be a trash node, and I will put it where it was actually intended to be installed. This is just for the sake of this video. And the irony is, this Smartnode isn't going to be run on Oracle. Alright, so the public ID is what we want. So we're going to say there's our public ID. That's where we're going to install this. Now what this address is within our wallet, we need money that's not our collateral. So we're going to say list, if I could spell once again, list address balances. This will show us where all the money is. All we're looking for is something that has some kind of positive balance. Basically, anything over 1 Yerbas is fine. We're just going to say copy that one. So now our ProTX command is completed. Now it looks like this is on multiple lines, and it's really not. It just, Mac does the word wrap thing. So this is all on 1 line. You do want spaces in between them. They're saying that there are no quotes. I've found that quoting them is a necessity, but we will see with Yerbas. I haven't done the Yerbas one in a while, so this could be a little bit different. So we're going to clear out. Now, we're going to have to say wallet passphrase. I'm not telling you what mine is, but this would be the format that we're going to use. So in between the 2 quotes is where my password is going to go, and for 600 seconds we're going to unlock the wallet, because then we need to do the next part of this. But you do want the 600, so you enter your password. Now, after I've entered it, it'll say wallet passphrase and no. That means you are good to go. Your wallet is unlocked. Now we enter our ProTX command and execute. Okay. Alright. So effectively, our Smartnode should be up and operational, assuming, of course. Let me see here. Okay, good. We are running, because I did have Yerbas D over here. We have it over here. Goody gumdrops. Alright. So now, what we need specifically over here, so I'm just going to close that, minimize this, minimize my miner running this whole time. Now for me, we're going to say new window. because I'm executing this at startup, it puts it basically in the user folder that I'm looking in. This comp file, which will be the last line of that gibberish that was over here on your debug, when you entered that command, there was one line here where it said, here's where your Yerbas comp file is. This is for this specific smart node you're trying to set up. You need to find this because this is going to have the information that you're mostly going to need. We may have to modify it depending on one thing, but we're also on Linux and it's protected, so where you have to say sudo nano, and then we can just drag and drop that in there because this is a modern Linux and you can do that. Okay, so normally you would absolutely want your smart node private key protected. Do not expose this to anybody. Like I said, at the end of this video is getting trashed. So, I have now copied that text in its entirety, and we can say nano Yerbascore / Yerbas.com. Okay, now before we make any, before we do anything to this, make sure your daemon actually is stopped. So we have to go Yerbas-CLI stop. Right, it'll say the Yerbascore is stopping. At this point in time, we can go ahead and remove all of this information. And we are going to paste this information, right? Now, I do want to check this against what was, oops, wrong one. Bring back terminal. And I do want to check this against you, right? Mostly the username and password, make sure that's good. All right, so we control Alt, control X, and we now say Yerbas D. The Yerbascore is starting. And as you see here, it is actually in fact starting. There aren't any available errors right now. People be texting me. Okay, now one of the things that we're also going to talk about here is I probably set this up on a cron job. Cron is a great way, old school way, to make sure that applications start at startup, right? So what we're seeing right here is on reboot, we're going to execute /user /ben /yerbasd. Now the reason I did it this way is because this way, anytime that we update yerbasd, it is always going to be executing the most newest version of this command. But we are actually going to stop this. We're not going to execute this on its next reboot. We are going to keep the Bitorium one, which is fine, right? And we are going to say Yerbas. No, screw that. We're just going to say sudo reboot. All right. Terminate processes. Normally I wouldn't do that, but this is an interesting use case. And we wait, because rebooting things never is quickly. Okay, we're back up. And let's do that again. Play it again, Sam. So let's tail. Now there will be a file, but it should be a dead file or non-moving file. Yeah, so that it will have the information that is right there. Now, we don't actually want to institute Yerbas D. What we are now going to do, because effectively our smart node should be up and available. Actually, yeah, let us do run Yerbas D real quick. There is something I do want to check. Yerbas-CLI smart node status. It should give us some kind of, oh, I'm looking for myself on the network, or no, in this case it's ready. This is what you want. If we do a port check on this address now, this 1420 should be open. This is the result that you should see. You could also probably see something to the effect of, waiting to show up on the chain or whatever. This node has been running for about a week in order for me to do this, because I've had a lot of other things to get done, and I had to sell some of my Yerbas, which is for the collateral, and yada yada yada. Alright, so where you want to do a port checker. There we go. It's open. So our smart node is now up and operational without using UFW and without using Firewalld, I may add. This will in fact always work. So we have now come to the end. Oh, and if you do want to check the current node height, there is a Yerbas. There is a nice Yerbas command, Yerbas-CLI get block count, if I can spell. All right, you can match that up against the current block and see where you are. So we actually want to say stop. We do not want the daemon running. Now, you will get pause banned if this isn't running, but I don't really care because, like I said, this server isn't going to last very long. What we are going to do, however, is we're going to make this a service, right? So what we're going to want is sudo nano /etc/systemd/system, and we're going to create this yerbas.service. Okay. Now, I'm not sure how to get this out to people. I'll probably create it in a PDF file at a later date and put it in the description. But effectively, if you want this code, go ahead and get at me and I will get it to you. This was provided to me by one of the head guy over at Bitorium. This is 100% his code. It might actually be somebody else's. He gave it to me. I don't know the actual, if he's not the real source of it, then I don't know who is. If you are, let me know. I'll give you credit where credit due. As for right now, the lead of Bitorium gave me this code to do this for Bitorium, but because these things are so close in proximity, they work. What would be changed here is every modus of Yerbas has been swapped out for Bitorium. Outside of that, everything else is the same. So we're going to say the service for the user, Yerb, because that's the user account that we're logged into, right? And basically we're going to go through and make this match where this stuff is. So we're using the absolute, not the relative paths here. We're saying for user Yerb, the runtime directory is home yerb.yerbascore, which is true. Run yerbas.pid. Executing start is wherever your Yerbas D is. You don't have to use user.bin. You can keep it in that 2.1.4 file. The point is, wherever your Yerbas D is that you're referencing, this is where you're going to want it. So for us, oops. /user/bin/Yerbas D. For us, we just swap out the word user for Yerb because that is our user. And the conf, same thing. All we have to do here is swap out this for Yerb. Daemon. Path to Yerbas CLI, same thing. We put it in usr/bin just to make it easier. That's going to be our path to Yerbas CLI. this is effectively going to executively start and executively stop. So from here on out, you no longer use your Yerbas US or Yerbas D to start, nor do you use Yerbas CLI to stop. I will show you how to do that in a second. All right, so we need to swap out user for Yerb, and then once again, user for Yerb. Stop, recommended, and I'm pretty sure this is everything. Now, I always like to delete back up to this line to make sure that there are no hidden characters. Any hidden characters after this says wanted by multi-user.target will cause errors in the following steps, right? So we're going to save this, right? We're going to write it out, which is Control-O, Control-X to close this. So the next thing that we want here is we are going to use another echo command. Right. But this isn't accurate, right? Because clearly this was designed for something else. So what we do want is we want to echo quote PID equals / run / Yerbas PID end quote open caret home. And once again, this is not the right user, so we want Yerbascore, blah, 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 blah. This is going to write a line at the end of our conf file. So now if we go to nano, there is this file. You can absolutely type this in here manually, but do put it at the end, and if you do, then don't use the PID command. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to tell the system to reload its daemons, because we have effectively created a new daemon, right? Now we are going to enable the Yerbas daemon, which is sudo systemctl enable the service that we created, so everything before .service, which in our case is Yerbas, right? If you get this, everything has gone right. If you have not gotten this, hit disable Yerbas, delete that file that we created, the Yerbas.service file, and start all over again. Else this will never work. I have found this out the hard way. Okay, so now we're going to do sudo systemctl, if I could spell, systemctl start Yerbas, not Yerbas D, and what you'll see over here is Yerbas D is executing as it should. This will happen on boot, this will happen on crash, and we can simulate that. Because remember how I said you can't use Yerbas CLI and stop anymore? It's not entirely true. You can, but what it's going to do is for us, it's going to simulate a crash. So if we hit Yerbas-CLI stop, what you're going to see, pay attention to this screen over here and see what happens. So you see that it hits the shutdown, but then it immediately reboots back up and starts over. We have effectively simulated a crash. For all practical purposes, our node is now completely in a rebooting mode. This is great when you have low resource modules and are installing multiple things, like where this actual Smartnode will wind up going. It is going on a server that hosts something else for this project. This will be the third Smartnode that I have, and it will also have a Batorium node as well. So because of that, there will be some interesting things going round. But this will be the only Yerbas smart node, so the other Yerbas thing shouldn't have any conflicts with it, but we'll see there. And this will actually go in there as well. So this all went fairly quick for us, even though I know that there were some hangups, but that had a lot to do with the fact that my wallet, where the Yerbas D had already been pre-synced, because this can take anywhere between 10 minutes to 2 hours, depending on your connection to the server, or I'm sorry, not your connection, Oracle's connection to the daemon, all that kind of fun stuff, whether or not your node is open, things like that. So go ahead and like the video, share the video. If you have any questions, definitely hit me up, DM me on YouTube. You can also find me at the Yerbas Discord channel or the Batorium Discord channel. all credits where credits are due. Like I said, the main man over at Bitorium was the one that gave me the service code. So that's why I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to post it anywhere, but we'll see about that one as time goes on. As always, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good day.